Hey, everybody, I'm Taylor Ferber.
And I'm Joe Francis, and this is Undressed.
Joe, we have quite a situation on our hands today, my friend.
Oh,
Okay.
do we, Taylor?
I think so, because we have these women quite literally twerking their way accidentally out of the workforce, which got us thinking about how we as a society interpret women's, not men's, just women's sexuality. And we're going to be talking about that today. And for all you bookworms, don't worry. We're going to be getting into the history. We're going to be getting into a little bit of the quote unquote science, whatever that is. But I'm interested to kick it off, Joe, and have a little fun with your thoughts because you obviously challenge the idea and traditional views around women's sexuality with a little, endeavor of yours called Girls Gone Wild. So I know you have some thoughts today as we
Yeah,
kick.
I mean, this is all true because we really, and I've been fighting this fight for so many years. It's like, it's ridiculous, but it's gotten that far. But when we started, imagine how controversial it was to show naked women on television because no one had ever done that before. And then sell it in video cassettes and ship it to your house. So, I mean, it was really about, and it really has always been, Girls Gone Wild was about free expression for women and being able to not, to act however you want to act without having that slut shaming that happens today and all of that controversy that comes with this feminism that shouldn't be feminism that I'm sure we'll discuss later in the show.
Wait, can I address the elephant in the room?
Go
And it's
ahead.
not just that you're looking extra ladies. I mean, is it just me? Is Joe like have it going on today? I don't know, Joe. Is it the hair? Is it the tan? Like you're making us like feel a kind of way today. But okay, the elephant in the room is that
It's the
you and
white
I,
t-shirt.
you,
It's the white t-shirt.
I
It's got to be.
guess,
It's got to be the white t-shirt. I mean,
yeah.
because,
We'll just say that's what it is for now.
yeah.
Something like that.
Well, thank you.
But you're welcome. But okay, let's be real. You know as well as I that we are going to be having women who are listening to this going, Taylor, are you on an acid trip right now that you're just going to let Joe jibber jabber about this because Girls Gone Wild did the very thing that you guys are talking about? It just took women's power away and degraded them and made them less than and made them look like sluts, so to speak. So what would you say to that, Joe? I'm just playing,
I
devil's
no,
advocate.
no, and great question, Taylor, and great. I mean, yeah, for anyone thinking about that, you have to think that Girls Gone Wild was the first vehicle out there, ladies, that gave women their power back because it gave women choice. And we can talk about all the way back to 1920 and the women getting the right to vote, but women finally had choice whether they wanted to be naked, express themselves in that way or not. And it's better always to have a choice as a woman or any individual in any society than it is not to have a choice. So that's what it did. It really, and it paved the way for what we see today is Instagram and TikTok, social media, Facebook, X, and Twitter, and everything else you've seen were all subsets of Girls Gone Wild.
I mean, you could actually say, Joe, that it put kind of what what you're arguing, but it like put the power in the women's hands in a way. And do you feel like, I don't know, looking back, because oddly enough, to your point, this does get into, you know, your everyday flight attendant or detective just twerking on or off the job, but it plays into that, right? Like, what looking back, was there a part of it that women were like liberated and had fun? It was like, whoop, there's my tits. Like, I never did this before, like more often than not, or was it a mixed bag? Or was it part of
Well,
them that was like, that was fun?
no, I mean, more often than not, like Girls Gone Wild was the only way to be famous, right? So there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there was no social media. So if you wanted to be, if you were a girl and you wanted to be famous and you were in your town in Ohio or wherever going to college or on spring break, you sign a release for Girls Gone Wild, you have a 1 in probably 1,000 chance of being on television. And if you want to do something, you can sign that release and you could be on. And these women had an opportunity to express themselves in any way they wanted to. And that wasn't available. Now anyone can get famous from anywhere, right? And in any kitchen all across America.
Here I am trying to co-opt like the third wave of feminism and like putting it on like it was all because of Girls Gone Wild, guys, and the liberation. And you're like, actually, they're just getting famous. Let's just know. Let's just say what it is.
Well, some are expressing themselves, right, Taylor? But It is feminism because all of them have choice. So that's where
Right,
you
right,
have to
right.
look at it. Is like if a woman has the right to choose, and she has choice, then she has control, right? And those are things that weren't always granted to women in the past, right? With the right to vote, with abortion rights that have been pretty much stripped in a lot of states, but those types of things. And women should have control over their own bodies. And I know we have a show coming up on prostitution, and that's a very similar thing. Women should have the right to sell their bodies if they want to. That's their choice.
I have
Another
a
episode.
yes, it is coming, guys. I have a soft spot in my heart because of this for Hugh Hefner. And he's getting so ragged on now. And this guy can't even defend himself from the grave. But you know about my endeavor in Playboy and
Uh
just
huh.
what it always represented to me and women being these just hot, beautiful, powerful forces and how Hugh was able to unlock that for them. And now he just gets shit from here to Timbuktu. But,
But
because
he
of
was
that
having sex
reason.
with animals. Like, all right. And Taylor, in all fairness, I did
Wait,
business with
what?
the guy. I mean,
Wait, wait,
I
wait,
mean,
wait. What?
if
This
you
took a
read,
turn.
okay, my friend Jen Saginar, Jen, who I've known forever, whose dad's best friend was Mark Saginar, who's Dr. Saginar was Hugh Hefner's doctor and best friend forever. So, I mean, like, she's exposed all of these secrets. Like, they were having sex with animals,
Oh.
bestiality. They
Oh, we
were,
just got dark. Oh.
yeah. I mean, well, you were saying that he's getting criticized from the grid, but he's getting criticized for
Well,
things that
from
I think are worth criticism.
well, that's fair. I'm talking
Okay.
about the women who were like knowingly having fun. I just
Oh,
recently had an
okay. Yeah.
iconic
I
80s
mean,
centerfold on my podcast, and she talked about this like where was this at the time? Like we were having a grand old time. And to keep it, kid somewhat
I
kid
thought you were talking about the recent
friendly.
documentary. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Jeez, we see where your mind's at, Joe Francis. My oh my. I'm just talking about, the pure endeavors as one such as myself and like what I did, right? And the beauty of free
Yeah.
expression.
Uh-huh.
You know this. And
Yeah.
I'm actually the only woman to this day who both posed and wrote an essay and was featured as a contributing writer in the same issue of Playboy, all in the spirit of free expression.
Uh-huh.
So that's why the bestiality, that is another thing for another. Guys, raise your hand. Do you want the bestiality of this or
I mean,
prostitution as a next episode? Power to the people. I mean, just, I don't even know.
I
Wow.
didn't want to watch that either or hear all those things. But like, I mean, honestly, and I knew the man too. So when you talk about him and I mean, he was an asshole. And like he wasn't, I mean, I made the guy a lot of money. I did a lot of business with Hugh Hefner, and he was not a nice person and he was gross. I mean,
That's fair, but
ultimately,
look at like Steve Jobs. Look at like
I don't
Elon
know
can be
Steve
a dick.
Jobs.
I'm just saying
I'm
these
no, no, but
guys
I know
had
Elon.
cultural
Totally.
breakthroughs I'm just saying for me,
Yeah.
what it represents was the like floodgates of women. And you look at all of the iconic women who then were liberated to be in Playboy and be hot and gorgeous and pose nude. You look at the intellectual side, like Malcolm X, Nixon, all these people, right, who were interviewed, contributed. So for that reason, like I'm on Shark Tank, I'm not out just yet, Joe.
Yeah.
Playboy train. But,
Yeah. Maybe you
speaking,
should, by the way, watch that Michael Jackson documentary before we talk about that. Maybe you should just hit that just to make sure. Have you seen that one?
I haven't, no.
Okay. All right. Well, you got to catch up on some watching and then
Oh, great. This show's about to
wait,
be on the black web,
yeah,
okay?
you don't
You've
know that
all been
Michael Jackson
warned. My, oh, my.
molested little boys, or no, you do.
No, that I knew. I mean, I'm not living under a rock, but
Okay.
but
Just
anyways,
just
well,
a
I'm
different
actually
rock.
surprised.
You are living under a rock,
It's not
probably.
these rocks, okay? It's another, that's for a different day. But I actually have to say, before we pivot to, if you want to say it's free expression, sure, to these women who have gone viral lately for getting fired for twerking, I'm actually surprised that you don't have more of a soft spot for Hugh Hefner, given the parallels you guys have in liberating women, so to speak, and
Well,
different
I'll
cultural
tell you.
touchstones in our,
I
in our
mean,
own
look,
zeitgeist.
I love Larry Flint. Larry Flint was a friend of mine, the late Larry Flint. Hugh Hefner, although I knew him, we weren't friends, and he was a very jealous old man, and
Yeah,
he
he got
didn't
bitter toward
like.
the end, I heard.
Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah,
just
that's
really
fair.
didn't
That's
like.
fair.
He
That's
didn't
fair.
like the girls liking me over him or
Oh,
talking about
I
me.
see. Now it comes out.
He
Yeah.
didn't like the comparisons being made in the media that I was the young Hugh Hefner, and that really
Ah,
bothered him. But ultimately,
got
I
it.
owned Playboy Home Video, so I owned
Got it.
his brand. I owned one of his companies, and I produced millions of dollars in revenue for his dying magazine. So by buying that in like 2001, I was enabled the man to make a lot of money and stay living. So, but instead of thanking me, he trashed me on television. I remember one time on Larry King. So, like, and you know what? He was always an asshole.
Ah,
So I don't care about Hugh Hefner.
fine, Fern. Oh, it's getting personal. It's personal.
No,
Business
he's
be
an
savage
asshole.
like
Like
that.
he is trashy and trust me,
But
like
it
the
wasn't
stores.
always. It wasn't always that way. It
Well, I
wasn't always.
believe it
It's
was
turned
always that
like
way. I believe
2000s.
it's just been exposed recently by Jen Saginar's book, The Inside the Playboy Mansion. I mean, that is a really crazy story. And that recent A&E documentary, which you should watch with the Michael Jackson one, and hit Tiger King
Wow.
too, if you're just get catching up to pop culture.
Oops. Wow, this guy's gonna have me on an R. Kelly spiral. This, that, did I don't even know. But all I can say is, on what other show? Only on
Oh, by the way,
Undressed.
Diddy's in
Would you?
jail. Just to catch you up on pop culture. All
Thank
right,
you,
just want to
thank you.
catch you up on the
Perfect,
news.
thank you.
Okay,
And I'm just confirming,
cool.
Hugh Hefner is dead, right? Okay, because in my
Yes.
all my blonde list, I just didn't know. But only on this show would a man and a woman have a dispute about Playboy, but the roles would be reversed. So I guess that wasn't on your bingo card, guys, this year. All right. So speaking
Your
of,
Playboy shoot the horn. That
yes.
my animosity towards Hugh Hefner and all those things aside, your essay and your photo shoot for Playboy, I believe the year he died was, I believe that was it for him. So I believe it was gorgeous, and you did a wonderful job, and you look
Once
great.
he saw it, he was able to be laid to rest. Actually, plot twist, it was after he died. But you know what? No one needs to know that except everyone who just listened to the show. But anyways, thank you. Yes, it is one of my proudest accomplishments. And actually kind of in the spirit of this, right? In women being able to be all things. But does it go too far, Joe? When you have an Alaska Airlines flight attendant twerking on social media on an empty plane.
She's the flight attendant whose twerking cost her her dream job.
I didn't think that, being so happy can turn into something like this.
Nell Diallo was having a great time dancing and twerking in the aisle on an empty plane before an early morning flight.
I decided to just take advantage of the moment to wake myself up and kind of get myself like hyped up for my day, basically.
She posted the video on TikTok along with the caption, "What's wrong with a little twerk before work?" But after the video went viral, she says Alaska Airlines fired her. What did they say to you?
They just said that I broke their social media policy.
Nell had only been on the job for 6 months. She says she was twerking to celebrate the end of her probationary period.
Why did you decide to post the video?
And I was really proud of myself that I came so far. I just didn't think that my video and my post and the way I was dancing would be deemed as inappropriate.
So how did you feel in that meeting when they told you you lost your job?
I put on such a proud face every time I stepped on that plane. And for them to terminate me without giving me a chance, it just was unfair.
A representative from Alaska Airlines tells us they don't comment on personnel matters.
Or an NYPD detective seen, basically playing a stripper in a hip hop rap music video. Twerking, and these women both got reprimanded, fired, slap on the wrist publicly. And part of it's funny, and part of it kind of plays into this, like, does it stop from the professionalism? Is it stopping them from doing their job? Should they be fired? Like, does it go too far?
You have to break it down. So you're using two great examples, right? And they're both women. They're both female, and one is a New York level 3 detective. Like, she almost makes $200,000 a year. She's a very important person in the detective work in the New York City. And then you have a flight attendant, right? So let's take them individually. Now, for the flight attendant doing this video, by the way, which is their own time. I don't know if most people know this, but flight attendants, when the plane is empty and the plane's not in the air, they're not getting paid. They're not even getting paid usually on most airlines for the taxiing and the loading of the airplanes. So for this flight attendant to shoot this video on her own time is perfectly understandable for any business executive. So I wouldn't falter there. Another thing is it went viral. Alaska Airlines should have jumped on this opportunity and went viral with it. And
that is just bad business decision. That is just bad business decision.
Why?
Making.
Yeah, for them.
Right,
But they're like traditionally a Jesus company, and they have like little prayers. Like if you fly on Alaska Airlines,
it's giving.
Oh yeah, they have like Jesus prayers on the nuts, like that you get on the plane. Like they're a Jesus plane. So like that's ridiculous.
You're like they're baptizing
flight attendants, take your clothes off, go down the aisles, shoot as many TikTok things as you want. You're not getting fired. Okay. I think any smart airline would have taken advantage of that, Taylor. You will agree with me, and made it viral. How hard is it to create a commercial like that? And that thing went viral, right? And instead of they fired her for making a great commercial for them.
What I found more interesting was actually the NYPD girl. And, you know, it's funny because I was going to ask you, like, take off your, because you're such a smart businessman and we can joke all day long, but you are. And we can have you, you know, joke about Girls Gone Wild, all this. But I was going to say, like, take off your Girls Gone Wild cap and put on a business making hat. And would you like do what you just said, like ride hopefully not upside down like Delta into this moment and just own it? But the NYPD detective was more interesting to me because she plays a stripper in this rap music video. And by the way, she was like a vet. I think she's been doing it like a little short of a decade, but they took her specifically off of the sex crimes unit, which I thought, like, why is it if a woman like this perfectly plays into the Madonna horse, she can't possibly be both? Like, why? Like, why is she being degraded or subjected to this if she's playing this hot, powerful, like stripper, and owning it? And you could tell she's having a good time, but that makes her unfit to run a sex crime. Like, they're not.
You're getting it wrong. No, Taylor, you're getting it wrong. Again, you're getting it wrong.
We'll see about
You're getting it wrong. No, you're getting it wrong completely. And look, I watched that video of her on the stripper pole, and I watched that 5 times just to make sure that I understood it.
That was not against her will. That is, she's having, and she's hot.
No,
I don't know that she's like,
arguably she's attractive. Okay.
Yes.
But I will tell you the difference. So you're talking to the man that just 5 minutes ago advocated for this flight attendant to go viral, take off her clothes, run down the aisles, and do as many videos on her own time as she wants to. Right. And I will say that in the other role, it's not because she's a woman, it's because she's a detective. She can't be on a stripper pole in a rap video because you have to understand a level 3 detective has to be credible in front of juries. She's testifying in court about sex crimes. So how easily would she be able to discredit by just playing that video in front of every potential juror and in every trial that she testifies in? She becomes then useless as a detective in New York. So if your job is affected in a negative way by the behavior that you're doing as a woman or a man, I can understand these companies or cities' reasons for these decisions, except Alaska Airlines. You're just idiots. Like, you should have jumped on that and made it crazy and wild.
Made it your moment. Made it your moment.
Guys. No one's talking about Alaska Airlines at all.
So, I think Spirit's a notch above.
Yeah.
You know, I
Sadly,
don't know.
the only airline with like absolutely no safety.
Where you have to steer the plane yourself. Okay, but
it's got a perfect safety record. Do you hear that? Spirit Airlines has a perfect safety record. How crazy is that?
They will be getting ghetto and ratchet, and the flight. I've seen it firsthand. Okay, the gate agents will be tearing each other's weaves out on site at arrival, but on board you'll be safe.
I saw it the first time. This was called Soul Plane.
Before
we
move on, I will respectfully agree to disagree, because I am the first person to roast these people who want their hawk to a moment, who are doing like you're like looking at McDonald's to Home Depot, like dentists to surgeons, like twerking on the job. And it's like, listen, sweetie, can you get to the job so my aunt isn't dying of heart failure? Thanks. Like, but I have to say with this, it's like, why? See, this goes into this entire thing because she's playing a stripper in a music video. That's inherently synonymous with she can't be taken seriously or do her job as a detective, as if it's automatically a sex crime or bad or putting women down or against her will. Like, I don't like
It's
that.
not. No,
I don't like
but,
that.
But you got to understand, if it was a man, okay, let's reverse the roles, because this is not, I think you're wrong about this. This is
I'm
not
the first person, if someone's unprofessional, you know me, I'll be
yeah,
like,
but
bounce.
you're missing her utility. This is a detective that gets paid almost $200,000 a year. What do detectives in that level, a level 3 detective, as they call her, right? Her experience, she is in a specific crimes unit that deals specifically with what she is in a video sexually doing. So it's not for her being a woman or this or that. It was, imagine if it was a dude doing the same thing and he has to go testify about a crime committed. They're going to play that, immediately discredit the detective in front of the jury, and it's over. I mean, that's what trial is. So she lost her value because of that video, because a prosecutor in New York, how could you put her up on the stand and have her be credible? Because the first thing any good defense attorney is going to do, Taylor, is put a video of her from that, rap video, and there goes your witness. And that's your best witness in a trial like that.
Well, I'll let you
Other
have
than the
that one
victim.
for now. We will agree to disagree. I know there are going to be dudes listening to this being like, "Oh, got her, she got." But you know what, Joe? I'll let you have your moment right now. But
I just think,
before
because you're making something, because a lot of this, you're making that like a male female thing. That's not a male female thing. That's just for anybody. But go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what is a male female thing. And this is before we get into the history of this a little bit, is what actually was really eye-opening for me is I dug my way down, maybe not like you down like a Michael Jackson, rabbit hole, but I did try to research and find the male equivalent. I'm like, are dudes twerking on the job and getting fired? Like what's happening here? And oddly enough, all I could find, even gay guys, I was like, is any guys twerking on the job? So A, what does this say about women and their sexuality and expressing themselves? But B, every time you do find a guy getting axed from a job for being unprofessional, it is literally either being creepy, like with some weird masturbation video, like pulling a Jeffrey Tubin, or straight up assault. So what? Like that in and of itself, I think is really interesting. Like, what does that
It
even
is.
say?
It's
And
so,
why
you know
can't
what it says?
dudes control themselves and have no chill?
No. It says that we're infallible and men are perfect. But continue. But yeah, I was just trying to
that's
answer your
what you
question.
heard. Oh,
You're hypothesizing. So I
am
just
I
wanted to
lucky you're not
answer,
masturbating now as we're talking on this
you
Zoom?
can't
Wow,
find
lucky
it because
me.
it doesn't exist, Taylor, because we're perfect. We don't do shit like that. Go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, no, never. Jeffrey Tubin. Anyway, I have a whole list here, but I'm not going to bore you guys. But everybody you had like the Mets GM, you had a high school sports coach, you have influencers, this, that, and it is always some creepy shit. So maybe one of the takeaways here is that the twerk comes out on top over some creepy masturbation video or something. But I just thought that was interesting.
Wait,
Again,
did
I'm like,
those guys
dudes can't
lose their
keep their
jobs?
shit together.
But did they lose their jobs? Okay.
Yes,
same
the guys.
situation.
Yes,
Okay.
but that's what's so interesting, right? It's like the guys aren't twerking, but instead
The threshold is that much higher.
They're just going to send you the unwarranted masturbation video. Cool. So,
I mean, I can't believe Jeffrey Tubin got his job back at CNN after masturbating on a phone call, on a Zoom with 20 other people. I mean, and he was writing for the New Yorker. Like, how crazy is that?
It's kind of par for the course, though, for them, because everything they do is ass backwards in this life. Like, do we care? Do they have any credibility in anything they ever say or do?
It's so true.
Okay, so Joe, let's talk a little bit about the history of all of this, right? Because obviously this is absolutely nothing new. You have, like, we're about to put chastity belts on all y'all, okay? Hide your kids and your wives, because, in the 19th century, the Victorian era, where very much women's chastity was seen as honor and was seen as, higher and because at the time, right, it was the whole thing of paternity. And if men were going to put resources and time, they had to know that that child was theirs, right? And then you even had like then the early 20th century, where in the 20s, women could finally vote. You had the second wave of feminism, the 60s, 70s. So this has been going on, and it's taught me a lot. I'm not going to lie, because I already know a lot about this, but diving in it further for this episode about how much of it is really internalized and how many iterations there's been of this through the years up until now with social media, in which I would ask you, like, does social media just amplify this double standard where women are scrutinized and, picked apart and, chastised literally, whereas men are, their sexuality is laughed at, celebrated, often ignored. They can just go and be about the town. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think I mean, look, you can't say that women are victimized by something that they're putting out there, because women are putting bikini photos on Instagram right now and social media, and they're putting it everywhere. So how could you invite that criticism and that chaos and that into your life, right? And then you're complaining about it on the other hand. It's the same logic we applied when we were talking about Girls Gone Wild. It's like these people agree, they sign releases, they sign up for it. So how could you not agree to then accept the consequences, right? Or the good part, right? Or getting a date.
Well, I suppose the question would be, why would there be consequences? And it's kind of what I was just saying. It's like we've seen this through the even before the 19th century, before the Victorian era, we've seen this. And again, that idea of women's sexuality has to be protected, or they're whoring themselves out. And it's honor and dignity, whereas men can just be rabid beasts and be Jeffrey Toobin and then get hired again. I mean, I'm just saying. So, but again, it's like you say, the consequences.
That's
it's
CNN,
like, should
though.
there be
CNN
consequences? Because dudes are. CNN does suck, but it's like dudes are like the studs, and it's like, yeah, dude, and this is still something that prevails today, obviously. And with women, it's like,
But I still haven't seen an example of like a woman being masturbating on a Zoom call or sexually promiscuous and losing her job because of it. And you're saying Jeffrey Toobin, and look, I'm not taking that fat creeper's like side here. So from CNN, like, trust me,
he's
I'm
like
not
from
taking his
CNN
side.
nonetheless. He's like from Fox News, baby. No,
I want to
CNN,
be really
absolutely
clear.
not. No,
Jeffrey Toobin should be like in a log cabin by himself in South Carolina. He should not be on television right now, because all you ever do as a viewer, if I ever watch Jeffrey Toobin on CNN, I start to laugh and I tell my friend the story. And they go, really? And like, that's the funny thing. Like, how does that guy have a job anywhere? Okay, different subject. But I agree with you, though. I mean, but these are not sex-related firings. Where is one example of a woman who has gotten fired even for showing her breasts on Girls Gone Wild? I've never heard an example, or appearing in a Girls Gone Wild episode. So much less like what they do on social media, if that does not affect the company or their job. But I agree, like, the kindergarten teachers, with their OnlyFans accounts public, like, that's a difficult thing
that's
for
a no
parents
for
to
me,
look
dog.
at.
That is a no for me, dog. It's situational.
There's a line, and you've got to look at all
There is a line,
right?
But you and I both agree that there's obviously this double standard that permeates through everything, how guys like are celebrated for it and get away with it, and again, the women, it's like the body count, which we'll get to. So as a dude who's open-minded, who's ahead of his time, how does it make you feel to see all that? It's okay, our producers paid me to say that, so no, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm just kidding. But how does it make you feel? Because there obviously is a double standard. Let's not lie. You have to be blind not to see.
Blind. No, I'm going to admit, no, there is a double standard, and it's almost, it isn't even a standard. It's welcomed. It's the culture. It's the thing. It's like women desire men that are more desired. Like, that's their nature too. And they're competitive. So that's why that studs or guys that are lucky enough to have options and have a lot of girls are, yeah, they're not punished by society, they're revered. But I totally agree that in the contrast, women who do the same or exhibit the same behaviors as the stud male, there's no such thing as the stud female, right? They're called the whore female, or, if they get with a lot of guys. But look, everybody's having sex with somebody. It's like the girls are just lying about their body counts, is what I believe. Like, they're just not telling the truth. And like, there's just such a there's such a big missing number that if you were an accounting firm or a law firm, you would be like, but where's the missing trillion? There's a missing trillion here.
Wow. Well, gee, I can't imagine why in light of everything that we're talking about. But
no,
right.
exactly. No. And I don't blame the women for lying about their body count, because it has been so ingrained in them by all these societal norms that you talked about, this Victorian era of chastity and, this paternal verification system. We didn't cover the chastity belt, but I thought, maybe we could bring that back.
I'm wearing one right now.
How did that work exactly? You would just lock.
It's comfy. It's hanging out.
Have you tried one?
No. Probably in my mind at some point.
But it did have a key and a lock, right? It did have a key and a lock.
It's like in Scary Movie where someone just gets electrified. And it's like you tried to F around and find out, pal. So that's
so would you care if your boyfriend locked you up like that? How do you feel?
Probably yes.
Really? Okay.
No one owns this but me, myself, and I. But speaking of that, okay, can I just be honest about something?
Yes.
This is where I feel like, because this, of course, has gotten political, what hasn't? And I feel like both sides of this debate are all on their high horse. They're on their soapbox, and both of them totally miss the mark, in my opinion, right? Like, you have the left who literally, let's call it for what it is. They advocate, like, whore yourselves out, ever to be Samantha Jones, and don't even be able to ever walk in your life because you're getting pounded so hard all the time, always, right? Which isn't true. And then you have the right that's literally like, you have to be a nun. You are only allowed one deposit of sperm from your husband every 2 years, or you are going straight to Hades, right? And both of them miss the mark. And I think that the truth is somewhere in between, because we women, obviously, even if it's, coming out in a little twerking video here or there, right? We are innately sexual, and it is tied to our power, and it makes us feel good and joyous and empowered. So that said, I do think that if it's too much of that, again, if it's overindulgence, could you be left feeling kind of crappy and unhappy? Yes, of course. And I want to really get into like the nurture, nature, all that of biologically, right, with men and women. But I'm just saying, it's like the truth is somewhere in between, and both of these camps just completely miss it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should unpack this first, and you should.
Unpack. Undress. Let's unpack. Let's unpack my chastity belt. It's getting uncomfortable, though.
Yeah, look.
He's like, yeah,
it's exactly what you're saying. Look, it is not fair to for men to be looked at one way and for women to be judged another way. But that is never. We're never ever going to get past that. And politics is really, it reinforces that idea, but more so, Taylor, because you grew up in the United States, correct? For our international viewers.
I did.
Sex is very different. If you're talking Europe, sex is very different and much more open and so much less restricted. Remember, the United States was found by Puritan separatists from the Church of England because they were too pure that's why we have all these religious protections, because they were separatists, because the Church of England wasn't conservative enough. So they wanted to be more conservative and move to a place. That's why they came to this country. And those ideas are really hard to get away from. So in your mind, and through this research and the show, like, look, and it just confirms it. Like, women have the same sexual desire as men. Guys, women want to have sex as much as we do. No, it says that in the studies I read. The studies that I read. And I read all the studies, of course.
All the studies?
So women and men have the same sexual desire. And society is telling women, hey, you guys can't act on that. And that's what Taylor's saying. And I agree with you. I agree.
Well,
No, that's ridiculous that society is telling you that you can't. They really are, because they're telling you can't have abortions. And by the way, that's bad for business, because businesses, at the end of the day, a government's a business, right? They need taxpayers. They need a climbing birth rate. And you should be having sex more to create more babies, because that creates a bigger population, hence more taxpayers. That's Elon Musk's strategy. He'll have
savage.
most
He's
of
like,
them.
"Do you hear that, Hugh Hefner? It was about business, buddy." No, but I hope you can hear me all the way from the grave. But I don't know that I'm quite following with the abortion business thing, but I kind of am. So are
Because
you saying that they act like they don't want it, but really it fills their pockets and is good for them?
it's good. Like you said, the political climate. Look,
Mm-hmm.
both. A president needs two things, right? He needs jobs and he needs a birth rate, right? He needs to have, if you have a country, if you have a declining birth rate, like Italy right now, you're done. You have a real big problem, because either you have to have everybody start having sex and having babies, or you have to have immigration to grow your country, or else you can't grow and you're declining. So that's a declining society. China has the same problem right now with a birth rate.
I know. I will say this again, how it's kind of in the middle. Like, yes, we do have these puritanical undertones in everything societally, and my mind has been open to that in ways that we may or may not even see because of our beginnings. So we're not at the Europe, red light district yet, but I always argue that it's cool. Like, we're not there, but we also, as women here, we do have it pretty good, ladies. We're not going to get into this now, and maybe we should at a future time, but I just thank my lucky stars, and I always bring women down to earth when they complain, we have no rights or whatever, that it's not like an extreme Islam is like Muslim culture, whereas if you show so much as an eyeball, they will chop your hand off, and that is the least of it, right? So, all things considered, we may not be, like you said, at, European level yet, but I think, conversations like this certainly help, I would say, but I'm biased.
They really do. I mean, conversations like this really help. Because people start thinking, and people traveling helps. Instagram helps, social media helps. It all helps to loosen people up, because they finally realize. And then if they read a statistic everybody, men and women, have equal desire to have sex. So, by the way, I want to ask you a question from our point of view. So, are women just lying? Because body count, okay, men can't say they've been with, and I am just pulling numbers out of my butt here, but men can't say, oh, I've been with 10
shocking.
or
Sorry,
100 women. Men can't say I've been with 100 women or 200 women, and that could be a lot of guy friends of yours. Hold on. And then women are all at 3 guys or something like that. So I'm just saying, I'm not asking your body count. Hold on. I'm not asking your body count.
Let's do it.
I'm not
Let's
doing
quit
that.
beating around the bush.
Right,
Let's quit beating around the bush.
Okay.
You go for, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. This is men and women right here.
I don't know.
Exactly. He's like infinity and beyond, like Buzz Lightyear. Okay. Case in point. So I actually did count in prepping for this episode, and I actually feel like my number is really cute. And it's like a magic number. I feel like it's perfect. It's right
it's
where
magic
it wants and needs to be.
Fake
it's
and
right.
Made up.
It's not
Every time
fake.
I've heard
Put
a
me on a
woman
lie
do this
detector.
and
Put
talk
me on
about
a
a magic
detector.
it's a magic number, because it's
I
not
have
real.
no shame in my game. Okay, so I'm in my 30s. Guess what it is? Go ahead and guess. Well, yours
6.
is like 7,600.
Okay, 7. I'm gonna guess 7.
Almost. Mine is 10. But I feel like that's cute. It's okay, 10.
Yeah.
It's it's got nothing to hide. It's a nice round number.
You know that no man listening right now. I'm not going to speak for myself.
I don't care. I have nothing to prove. You don't. You do or don't have to believe me. I don't care.
But no one listening believes with you. Not the men nor the women agrees at that 10.
It's my number. I'm not going to press you on it. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide.
Okay, I get that, but I couldn't even give you an answer. So I'm not going to I couldn't even give you an answer.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
But I'm being dead ass. You can hook me to a lie detector. But what's funny is
I believe you believe that. Hold on.
I
We all
have
believe you
my
believe
own
that.
sexual
I do,
revolution.
personally.
I'm having my own
Nobody
little
else
sexual
does.
revolution because I didn't have my slutty college years. I actually I might as well have had an aforementioned chastity belt, like basically until I was 30, because I was always and now I'm sort of, I don't want to say I'm making up for lost time, but let's just say, you know, my eyes have been opened and I'm exploring things that I wouldn't ever let myself before. Maybe actually for being dead ass, partially because all of this and how internalized all of this has been. So I'm just saying, but there ain't no shame in my game of my number. And can I tell you also what I learned though?
Yes,
Doing this.
I do.
I don't know if you knew this, but blondes like learn things sometimes, you know, like as they're on their educational journeys,
you
like we
don't
have
think
these moments of enlightenment.
I want to clarify. You don't think I mansplain things to you on the show, right?
I don't think you're a mansplainer.
Okay, good.
I think
good,
you say things in a way that men appreciate. Like you go on these whole explanations and women are like, okay, buddy. And guys are like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So is that
And you were saying-
mansplaining? It's
you were
working
saying,
for you.
I
You know?
don't know. I don't even know what mansplaining is, but you were saying.
So I think, okay, yeah. So because I did study this and I studied psychology, right? And I always really chalked it up to like difference in between, you know, how men and women are sexually, right? And culturally is really back through evolution. And you even have like parental investment theory, which is a fancy way of basically saying that women had to invest more, be it carrying a child, childbirth, breastfeeding. And that's the nurture part, right? Being in it for the long haul and like looking for that partner, which we've seen that now translate to today, where men are more reproductively successful and biological and survival to bust a nut in anyone who will look at them basically and to spread and reproduce, right? So I always, like I said, chalked it up to that. And I was like, wow, maybe that's us currently trying to navigate with that. But the more I read about this, I was like, wait, kind of what you said earlier. I was like, I think there's truths of that and there's validity in that, but I only think that goes so far. I do not think, yes, men have more, maybe like they're more visual, obviously, and have more sexual impulses, but I don't know. This has really challenged my thoughts in thinking men are just inherently more, quote, sexual than women. I'm kind of like, actually,
wait, it really has
are
challenged.
we all buying into yes.
It really challenged me too. Like it really challenged my thinking on this. And like, and really my opinion has changed because, okay, now I feel for women being repressed, right? Because if you're told either by societal norms, which is your girlfriends or your parents, or society in general,
your parents,
which is government, right? That, you know, thou shall not be a whore. I'm just going to make it fast, right? Thou shall not be a whore.
I mean, basically, yes.
Like
or the modern right-wing
you're going to go
conservative
burn in eternal hell, right? And you're taught that from, you know, being a little girl. And that's what you have to go with growing up. And then it's like a gay child having to oppress their homosexuality or whatever, right? I feel like it's the same thing. Then as a woman, you have to suppress
therapy. Don't put us in conversion therapy.
Yeah, you have to suppress your sexual desire. So like that taught me like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to go outside and try to talk to every woman I possibly can, knowing that they have the same desire that I do.
Women are the gatekeepers of sex. Men are the gatekeepers of relationships. I will die on this hill. It is so true. Well, guys, thank you as always for tuning into this episode of Undressed every week. And as Joe said, next time we are going to be getting into prostitution. So
prostitution. That'll be a fun show. I'm excited.
It will. I'm going to hire Joe to be my personal gigolo, and then I can really give anecdotal research impressions on you guys. But as always, stay tuned right here, subscribe and share, and we'll see these guys next time. Right, Joe?
Thanks, guys. See you next time.